Hello, this is Lauren Ravel. Thank you for joining me for Professional Development on Academic Language. Throughout the presentation, I will ask you to pause the recording to read or to reflect. Here are the objectives of the PD. Please pause while you read them to yourself. Before we talk about academic language, I would like to explain my background with vocabulary. In the summer of 2010, I worked on a summer curriculum project to develop lessons for the new course, Academic Language, for Level 4 ESOL students. My task was to devise the protocol for explicitly teaching academic words. Again, in the summer of 2015, I worked with the county to revamp the same curriculum. In the summer of 2014, I chose 88 academic vocabulary words that the 7th grade English CT would use to teach students. The words were chosen from novels and short stories we read in class. I would like you as teachers at Glasgow to have the knowledge to differentiate academic language from content language. I would like you to know what words need to be explicitly taught and what words students can learn to figure out on their own. I love words, and I would like all Glasgow teachers to become excited about teaching words so that our students have a more extensive working vocabulary. A working vocabulary is the words that a person can read and hear in order to comprehend and to use correctly in writing and speaking. Basically, a working vocabulary is the words that a student has on hand to use and understand. They are the words that they own. Please pause to think about how you would teach the word function to your students. There are many ways to teach the word function. Since function is an academic language word, it needs to be taught explicitly to students who don't have the word as part of their working vocabulary. According to Wong and Fillmore, we should teach academic language because it is often cited as one of the key factors affecting the achievement gap between high and low performing students. Here is a book that you can refer to in order to gain more knowledge about academic language. No More Look Up the List Vocabulary Instruction is an easy read that sums up previous research. Its title lets us know that the way many of us have learned vocabulary, having a list of words to look up in the dictionary and write down the meaning to memorize, is not effective. Pause to think about how you were taught vocabulary. Do you think it was effective or not? Why? My 10th grade English teacher, Mr. Burns, taught us word lists that would be tested on the SATs. We would look up the words in the dictionary and write down the definitions for homework. We were then tested on them. This was not a good method. However, the powerful technique that he used was constantly using the words while speaking about our content. This made us understand the words in context, and it even encouraged us to try to use the words while speaking. I know these words as Mr. Burns' words, and although they are very obscure words, I haven't forgotten them. He was correct to teach us these words because they were the next type of words to learn for our expanding vocabulary. None of us were English learners, and we already had academic language in our working vocabulary. You could tell that he was passionate about words, and that helped us to learn them. If you are interested in knowing about research books on vocabulary, then continue. If not, you can skip to slide 10. Building Academic Language is the main reference book I go to for academic language research. Along with a language-rich classroom, I read both of these books before I worked on the summer curriculum. Academic Conversations is a book that helps teachers know how to have higher-order thinking conversations using vocabulary. Building Academic Vocabulary is an excellent book to know how to incorporate content vocabulary into your classroom. It should be titled Building Content Vocabulary because it does not focus on academic language. Instead, it focuses on content language. We will explore this distinction in the next few slides. Please pause to read the definitions for academic language. Swires, in his Building Academic Language book, distinguishes content vocabulary from academic vocabulary. He does this by using the analogy that content vocabulary is like bricks and academic language is like mortar. Content vocabulary are specific words that are used in each discipline. Examples of these content words are listed. The words in red are language arts words. The words in green are math words. The words in blue are science words. And the words in orange are individuals and society words. These brick words, or content vocabulary, need to be taught explicitly in each discipline. Bricks become more complex and abstract as you progress to higher grade levels. The mortar words are academic language words. They are general utility words that hold content-specific words together, such as differ, contrast, led to, etc. These words are all used in content areas also. Academic language words are often untaught. They are very difficult to think of how to explain to students. Native speakers learn these words naturally. However, non-native speakers of English don't know these words automatically. They haven't been exposed to these words enough in reading, writing, speaking, and listening in order to be a part of their working vocabulary. So it's the job of the teacher to teach academic vocabulary. When you think of mortar being the substance that holds together bricks, you can think of academic language as in-between words that hold together words in the sentence. If you don't understand them, reading and taking a test could be very daunting. Look at the examples of directions for assignments in language arts. Imagine you have no idea what the academic language or bullwords are. It could stop you from doing an assignment. Here are some vocabulary terminology that you may see from the Common Core. Please pause and read it to yourself. Here are some examples of how teachers in our school use the word function, which is an example of an academic language word. The first example is from a science class. The second example is from a civics class. These two examples are using function as a noun, meaning the purpose or job. The third example is from a Math 8 class. This is also used as a noun, but it is the most specialized meaning of all the examples. Therefore, we could also consider this content vocabulary. The fourth example is from language arts. The fifth example is from theater. These two examples are using function as a verb, and the definition of function would be work or works in these sentences. Here are more examples. The sixth example is from technology education. The seventh example is from band, and the eighth example is from physical education. These three examples have function used as a noun. In context, the word function means purpose or job. Examples 9 and 10 are from art class. The ninth example has functional, which is another form of the word function, used as an adjective. Students need to know many different word forms or parts of speech and uses of the same word to expand their vocabulary. Since vocabulary words cannot all be taught the same, here are some suggestions on how to teach the words. Both bricks and mortar words need to be taught explicitly. This will be explained in the next slide. All other words that students encounter that they don't know, you need to teach them whether it's a word that they have to know or if they can still understand the gist of the content without knowing the word. Sometimes it is helpful just to skip the word you don't know if it's a word that's not used enough in the text or if its meaning doesn't have a bearing to understand the lesson. One book that 7th grade language art classes may read is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. A word that could be difficult for students in the book is banister. If students don't understand this word, then they could still read the text with understanding of the main plot. If students get stuck on the word, it's not a word that needs to be taught as a vocabulary word. A teacher could simply say, when you walk down the stairs at school, there is a banister that you can hold on to so that you don't fall. The teacher could show a picture and could also mime how to hold on to a banister. In addition, there are difficult words students should look up in the dictionary. These words need to be used frequently in the text. Teachers need to teach dictionary skills to help students know how to look up the words. Here is an example of the word function being taught explicitly. The definition is given in simple language. An example of a sentence is provided so students know how to use the word in context. A picture is given as a visual to help them remember the word. Other word forms are provided so that students can make up their own sentences with the word. Pause to reflect on what information in the slides so far can be useful in your own teaching. How are you going to approach teaching vocabulary? Avril Coxhead from the School of Linguistics and Applied Studies at Victoria University of Wellington in New Zealand compiled the academic language word list. What she did was input a corpus of nonfiction books in a computer. The computer figured out what the most commonly used words were. She presented them in a list and numbered them by frequency of use. This list shows what words students are going to encounter when they read academic texts from any discipline. They are not the most frequently used English words, but they are the most commonly used in learning. The next slide will show a part of the list. If you're curious, you can pause and click on the link to find the whole list. Here is a snapshot of part of the list. The numbers next to the word show the frequency that the word is used. So if a word has the number 1 by it, students will see this word a lot more than the words that have higher numbers. Pause to look at these words. Pause now to look at the list of words again. You can go back to slide 20 or you can click on the link. What words do you think are important for you to teach your students? Make sure that you take every opportunity in your class to use the words you taught. You cannot teach students all the words on the list. Teaching a word a day or a few selected words a week will give students time to focus on the words. You can make sure that you use these words in context and also encourage students to identify when they read and hear the word, and encourage students to use the word in writing and in speech, even outside of class. When students have a writing assignment, require them to use 3 to 6 academic language words. There is no definitive research that says how many times a student needs to be exposed to a word to own it, or to be able to have it as part of their working vocabulary. According to No More Look Up the List vocabulary instruction, infants and toddlers and foreign language learners range from 6 to 20 repetitions until the word sticks. The book also claims that about 25 encounters of the word during a 1-week period are necessary to help students own the word. Therefore, choosing a few academic language words help the teacher and students be able to provide examples and use opportunities to practice using the words. Here are the next steps that you can embark on to teach academic vocabulary. Talk to your English teachers to find out what words they teach. Talk to your CT about academic language that you could teach and ways to enhance the content vocabulary you teach. If you are interested, please click on the link to find more slides on teaching strategies and activities to teach vocabulary. Go to the Groups folder and then Vocabulary to add your ideas on teaching vocabulary. Feel free to email me with any questions. Thank you so much for listening about academic language.